And so most of you guys know that. Good evening, good morning if it's morning time where you are. I just wanted to get on here because this was something that I noticed for myself as well as other people when I came across them. Okay. Uh, have you noticed that most of the time when you have to help people, is people who have not listened or paid attention or put in the work? Okay. And sorry y'all. I've noticed that right now. This is what I'm picking up on. This is what I'm getting. I'm trying to get it to where, hold on, give me 1 second. I'm trying to get it where it can just sit and be okay. But my stool thing, I say my stool, my phone stand in my car is not in a good position, so can't do that. So it is in my cup holder, y'all. So y'all see this, just know. Y'all might not be able to see me, but I am here. And then I got this new little charger phone thing, so, and that's getting on my last nerves. It's like a hand thing. But anyhow, I noticed that while I'm out here busting my butt, the people that I'm trying to, you know, give out information to help, better their lives are not listening, y'all. And these people, these are the same people that I know for myself in my life. These are the same people who always need help, who always come out on the short end and always be crying and complaining, talking about, poor me, it's me, nobody helps me, blah, blah, blah. Everyone helps them. They just don't listen. They don't listen until it's time for something drastic. They let it go on and on until it becomes drastic. And so, yeah, I noticed that. So, I started thinking, what is hindering them from doing what I'm doing, to better myself or to go after and chase after my dreams. I have to go and pursue my dreams for one, but I also, hi there, hi everyone who's in here. I didn't know that was that many people. Hello everyone. Um, Thank you for tuning in. I know I have to go and pursue my dreams, but what do I do in the meantime to support myself? Okay, I get myself another job. I find other means of income. I'm not gonna sit there and just trying to lean on others with no plan of doing anything. And these people will constantly do that. And so I begin to ask myself, why, what could they do? They could get another job. They could do all this, but why aren't they? Because they don't want to. They don't feel like they need to. They don't feel like they need to. I had one person tell me they will refuse to flip burgers and work a job, and then they were making $28-30 an hour since they lost their job. And I'm like, money is money, especially at this time. You need money to make money. You kind of do, especially when you have limited skills. It's different if you had extra skills that can get you a job or a position that will, or some skills that can help you create a position or a job that will make you that much or more, you know? But no, they just refuse to not even work, not do anything. They have, responsibilities that they know will go unattended if they don't do what's need to be done, And so you have to ask yourself, are you going to be a dummy or not? hello to everyone. And to me, I'm saying no. I just took that today. I'm like, no, I can't do that. Especially with inflation, with everything that's going on. I'm so grateful and so blessed that God led me to a place where I was transitioned to do more things for myself, like growing and, growing things, finding all the alternatives before, inflation got to this point where it is now. And we know it's going to get worse anywhere, anywhere you're at, any part of the world. Inflation is inflation. It's going to do what it does. And so, um, yeah, I've positioned myself to be comfortable, to survive, not only survive, but to be comfortable, and why should someone who hasn't taken the steps to make their lives better be a benefactor of that? You know, why? Grown, healthy adults. I'm not talking about, kids or people that are not able-bodied. I'm talking about full functioning, able-bodied adults. They're not, people who need guardianship or anything like that. Not talking about those. I'm talking about people who live their life like you and I. They get up and they do, instead of doing what is necessary and needed to be done to complete the tasks that they have to do or the responsibilities, they refuse to do it. They do other things to alleviate, to cope, to medicate, to soothe their pain, soothe their anxiousness. They do anything to get out of that responsibility of doing a task that's gonna get them out of that situation, because they're leaning on other people. They know other people will step in. Okay. And so I was at that point. Now you're in the Philippines. Hi there. Yeah, I'm getting close to a red light. If y'all don't know, I'm driving. So if I'm not looking at your comments like all the time, it's just because I'm driving. I'm not forgetting about you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hi, Nathan. Hi, Jesus. And the Philippines, that's kind of neat. I went to the Philippines last year because I have a friend that has family that's there. I actually met her parents because they came to the States and they couldn't find a hotel in the city that I live in because it was booked, because they had this whole summit. It's like a summit that they have, and it's very full. Everything's usually packed, so they couldn't get a place, so they ended up staying in my place. So, and they invited me to come to the Philippines, and I was just like, listen, I used to be a flight attendant, honey. I am there. Just say the word. I love to travel. So, yeah, but so welcome everyone who's on here. If you're on here now or in the future, welcome. I'm just talking about what I've experienced and what I've seen, especially thinking about today, because today work was so hard, y'all. I was standing up so long. First of all, I want to tell y'all, I have multiple jobs. I have multiple jobs because at one point it was almost like I could not keep a job. It was something, somebody would try to bother me at the job, do all kind of crazy stuff. So I had to just navigate and deal with that. Another thing was, at when COVID hit, a lot of the jobs would try to make you work, not at all, let you go, let you not work at all, or just have you work only a couple of hours. And so for me, I was like, that's not gonna work. I gotta make sure that I have my money together so I can do my things and prepare my future. Which it did help having these multiple jobs, because it helped me, fund my business. It helped me do a lot of things that I really wanted to do. So I'm very grateful for that. Let's see. Okay. So yeah. So anywho, I was up. My feet was killing me. My back was killing me. People were talking crazy. I don't know if my back was hurting because I was doing crunches and sit-ups and everything else, and I had to see a chiropractor too. Yeah, I had to see a chiropractor because I got hit by a car like maybe about like almost 10 years ago. It'll be 10 years in June or July. June. Yeah, June. It's June 1st. And so yeah, it was really crazy. And I'm like, man, I had just left one job, went to this one, worked at this one. I'm going home for a couple of hours. I don't. Thankfully, I have some of my relatives that are with me now, and they walk my dog. They're spending more time with my dog because my dog would be so neglected. But um, they're gonna walk her. They usually walk her and stuff, and I'm gonna go and rest for like a couple of hours and get back up and go to the next job. And so I look at that and I'm like, I had to make a lot of sacrifices in order to do this, and I don't regret anything that I'm doing or anything that I've done because it helped me to get into the position that I'm at now. Without having these jobs, I wouldn't be able to do schooling. I wouldn't be able to do a lot of things, you know, um, and I would have a lot of regrets. I don't have any regrets about this other than the only regret is that I wish I would have had this thinking process sooner. I've always had multiple jobs, but anywho, but yeah, just going through that experience, fighting and gritting the hardships of having multiple jobs, taking care of your home, assisting others in your process, because I have family members, who are with me. That's a whole nother story. Maybe I'll get into that later, or maybe not. But um, it's a really tight process, and I had to get my mind prepared because sometimes I do want to give up. Sometimes, I don't want to give up now because I'm getting closer and I'm seeing the fruits of it. But there were a lot of times when I wanted to give up. By the way, it's true. I'm Philippines. Okay. Oh, cool, cool. So, yeah, I wanted to give up, and I, had to talk to myself. I didn't have a lot of people encouraging me. I know it had to be nobody but God that really encouraged me because I was by myself. And then when I wanted to talk to people, didn't have that outlet. So looking through that process and still processing it through, I'm grateful for the experience, but I understand why I cannot help these specific individuals. Why I can't. I understand now why I can't help them. Okay? Because I'm over here busting my behind while they're enjoying their lives. They're having the time of their life. They're not even really having the time of their life. They're just using it as an escape and acting as if they feel good because, at the end of the day, some of these people that I know, this is from my personal experience from the people that I know, they hang around and they're partying around people that they really don't want to party around. Those are the people that are available to them because the ones that they do sometimes want to party around either don't want to party with them or they have other obligations. They don't have time to party around. They know the value of time and how to prepare so that they can be in a better position in the future. Sometimes you have to put off. Oh, I'm so glad he didn't dart in front of me. Sometimes you have to put off, what you want to do and do what you have to do right now in order to have the pleasure of doing what you want to do later. And they don't, and a lot of people don't do that. People talk about that at the beginning, but I see it more than ever now. More than ever now. You know, and it's very unfortunate. It's very sad, especially if they have children involved and innocent lives, because children, they only go based off of what they know from their parents. You know, they only go based off of what their parents. So if their parents, only showed them, you know, how to, survive from one place to another, and not got them in a growth mindset of, preserving themselves so that they can build up and be better in the future. They're not going to have that game plan. They're going to live hand to mouth. They're going to be just going with the wind. They're going to be moving place to place, going with the wind. When trouble arises, they're not going to be prepared for when trouble arises. And so, like I said, it's very unfortunate because a lot of innocent lives are in play. But I had to realize that I am only one person, and sometimes helping people can make you drown. Helping people can drown you. You can drown. Okay? I've seen it happen firsthand. I've seen it happen firsthand a couple of times. I've had people who meticulously put themselves in position to be around me because they know that I'm gonna go and say I'm gonna help. And I have to catch myself. And that's very manipulative. It's very smart, especially if you're on your limb, but it's very manipulative. It's very manipulative because if you can see that, let's see. Okay, coming down the street, emergency cars. Have a good night. I don't know where they going. You just saw the ambulance. Like, you're still trying to drive. Weird. But yeah, people will see that you're going in a direction. They know that they didn't do right, and they'll keep doing what they want to do. And when crunch time comes, or when they need a safety or outlet, they're gonna come to you because they know that you always show up. And I had that epiphany today. I was just like, oh my goodness, And I was watching YouTube videos too. I was just chilling, but they weren't talking about helping others or anything like that. But I thought about it after this lady was talking about the hardships of being in the changing from what you used to be to who you're becoming. You start seeing it differently. Other people can see it, but you don't really see it until you information and your eyes are open. And so that was my aha moment right there. I was just like, no longer could I, it's not a bad thing to go and try to help people, but you got to know when and how to help people. Sometimes the best way you can help people who are like that is to let them figure out stuff on their own. Let them figure it out on their own. Okay? Think about it. If they were partying or having a good time and living the best time of their life and everything was going well, where were you when this happened? Where were you when the festivities were happening? They didn't call you, they didn't contact you, they didn't keep you in mind. None of that. Okay? And so just keep that in mind as a reminder too, because that can help you a lot. I know it helps me. It helps me, because when I asked where was I when things were going really well for them or something like that, I probably was working, or they didn't invite me somewhere, or wherever they were at, they didn't think about calling and checking up on me or anything like that, and so that can give you that relief of not feeling so guilty, not feeling so down when you have to say no, when they come out running, acting like the world is falling upon them because they haven't taken the necessary steps to make their lives better. When their crisis comes, because Lord forbid, everybody does have a crisis moment. Certain things happen, and certain things are beyond our control. But a lot of things are within our reach. A lot of things we just have to go through and learn. Through experience, we learn that how to deal with them. Oh, excuse me. And with people who don't prepare, people who feel like you are their answer to things, They don't feel that they need to do. They don't feel that they need to do it. And they don't even understand why. Well, they understand why they don't have to, because you always show up. Because you always show up. And this road is so bumpy, y'all. It is so bumpy, and I don't know why. And this is one of the busiest roads in our city, but it's got so many potholes. But that's okay. It's taking me where I need to go. But yeah, you guys, that's what I was getting. I can't sit here and waste my time and my energy on people who don't want to do better, who don't take the time to do better for themselves. And then you gotta also, I looked at this too. Another thing that people will do, and this was in my situation, I'm sure it's happening to many others. A lot of people, if the shoe was on the other foot and you were doing it, they will leave you in a heartbeat. They will dog you out. They will say the craziest things to you. Matter of fact, if you had a down moment right now, even though they know you are a person of preparation and you have one slip up, they would act as if they could not help you. They would dog you out. But you, on the other hand, and I know this is for me, I've seen this time and time again. I will break my neck, break my back, break the bank to help the people that I care for and I love. I have a special place for them. And so I had to understand, and I don't, like I said, I don't regret doing any of the things that I've done in the past, because it's helped me. I don't mind giving, and on top of that, it helped me learn a lesson, and that lesson has helped me later on, because I've used this on when I get into other situations similar to this, and it has helped me and gave me that relief when I say no, or I can't help you, and turn away and not have any sadness in my heart or in my spirit or anything, because I understand now. I've grown with understanding. Y'all, I kind of want to cry a little bit, but oh goodness, those individuals, they are not going to get better. They, like I said, they will pull you down. They will pull you down, and every time you do something, they expect you to do something even greater. Okay, I even had one individual who, I was like, okay, well. And this happened, like, I want to say a couple of years ago, and this made me reflect on this, because I was just like, okay, and it got to me because this person actually helped me when I was going through some stuff with my grandmother, and my grandmother passed. So because of that one incident, now all the other incidents that went on, I can say that this person was very manipulative, and I shouldn't have anything to do with them. But it was one time, and I'm going to tell you guys what happened. There was one time, I had to go see my grandmother. Now, I think this was the last time I was going to see my grandmother, because they kept saying that she was sick. And this was my grandmother on my mother's side. My grandmother on my father's side is still living. She was very ill. And so we knew she was going to, she was ready to expire. And so I was like, okay. And then I was talking to that person. That person was staying with me for a good minute. And just would show up, and I was just like, okay, open them with welcoming arms, because I'm not leaving nobody on the street. I've been homeless before. I done seen some stuff. And so I went, and I was telling her, I found out that my grandmother passed, but we had saw her, like, that was a whole nother story too. But I ended up seeing, but anyhow, my grandmother passed, and somehow I was working 2 jobs then. I don't know how. I don't know how I did not have any money, y'all. It was like I had a hole in my wallet. The money would not come. I had a check that was supposed to come. It did not come for 30 days. Even though I had already been getting paid from this employer for like a couple of months, y'all. It was so bad. It was so weird. It was bad, but that's another story too. And so that person ended up giving me the funds that I needed to go and deal with my grandmother. And I was like, for that, I'll be forever grateful. Not thinking that, I really thought that was a heart gesture, and I can't really say that it's not. But now that I look back on things, I see that, I was already doing more than enough for that individual because for one, that person was living with me. For two, that person, like, when they needed to go places and things like that, if my car wasn't running, I would go and, pay for their Uber so they can get balanced, so they can get back on their feet. And so, not to say that they were entitled, I was entitled to do that, but that's what it, like they weren't doing anything else. They weren't giving anything, any money, anything like that. So, anywho, I didn't even tell y'all what happened. That's what I'm supposed to do. I'm so sorry, y'all. I'm getting drifted off while I'm over here driving. Long story short, as I'm having this person stay with me, when I came back, that person began to ask me for money for lunch food for lunch, for their lunch. Now, they already had been working. They have been working longer than I have. They're a native to this. Well, not a native. Well, you might as well say a native because they went to school out here. So they know the area way better than I do. This is when around the time when I first got over here. And I didn't know anyone here. I had a cousin that was here, but she lived on the other side of town, and I rarely see her even to this day. And so this person was they wanted me to give them, spend anything. And I'm like, wait a minute, no, like, and they're like, oh, well, I'm trying to get on my feet. I'm trying to do this, and, you're just not doing this. And it's like, wait a minute, no, it was the audacity. And so that friendship, that relationship dynamic had to end. It almost felt like as if I was dating the person for a minute because they were so demanding. Even I wouldn't even, if I was dating someone, I wouldn't even have that kind of. It was weird. It was weird. And I even had to ask myself, well, how did I even get here? How did we even get here? But anyhow, people have the audacity. Why I'm explaining that is that people will have the audacity to come out and ask you and want you to do more and more and more. It will never be enough for someone who is not putting in the legwork, someone who is not doing the things that they need to do because they don't know what it takes. They don't know what it takes, okay? Y'all, and I can tell y'all this. Think about when, I don't know if anyone else has faced this, but I've seen this before. When I was a teenager, I had a cousin, but I was so grateful to be in the car anyway. I had a cousin that had this hoopty, man. This hoopty used to take us everywhere, but it was like a 90, and it was old. The car was old. When I say it was a hoopty, it was old when I was when I was a teenager. It was like a 92 or 93 or something. Beretta. If you don't know what a Beretta is, it's like this little triangle kind of like round kind of car. It was a two-seater. Not a two-seater. It was a two-door car. It had a back seat, but it was very small. Very, very, very much small. And so, that was kind of weird. He had one little car thingy on there. One light. So, we would get there and we would ride and things like that. And there was a time when we was all going out and we I think we were trying to impress some guys or something like that. And so we wanted to get parked down the street because we didn't want them to see the car. And I was just like, in a way, I was like, yeah, I don't really care because at this point, we're not driving. I think I was like, maybe about 15 because I wasn't driving yet. Maybe 14 or 15. And so I have another cousin that was with me. I got a lot of cousins, though. But I had another cousin that was with me. She was like 16 or something. And she was like, oh, yeah, park, so we don't want to be caught dead seeing up in this raggedy car. And, my other cousin was like, well, this raggedy car, it took a lot of work to get this raggedy car, and, just telling us it took a lot, to keep it up and things like that. And my cousin at that time, I think she was like 18, 19 or something, and she was talking about the upkeep, the insurance, things like that. And so I was like, oh my God, like, that's a lot. I'm thinking in my head now, I gotta think different. It's a lot. Now, my other cousin didn't care. She was just like, it's a hoopty. I don't care what it is. I don't want to be seen with it when I'm trying to talk to some guy, and, I get it. Okay. But in the long end, I was just like, I started seeing the responsible part about it. Another bunny foo-foo. Little bunny foo-foo. Y'all, so many bunnies all over here. And so, I had to see that. I had to witness that. I had to see it. And I understood a little bit of that process of, being responsible. It's one thing to say you want to do something. Jesus, what is that? Okay. I just seen something really like weird and I don't want no parts of that. Yeah, it was just these flickering of lights. I just came in my driveway. There was these flickering of lights. When I say flickering of lights, I'm in the driveway. There's two bunnies. We have like this wooded area. So I'm like, okay, I'm sitting here talking to you guys, and there's this flickering of lights that's going around me like this, going back and forth, back and forth. And I'm like, what the heck? And so as I see that, I'm like, okay. I'm still talking to you guys, but then it happened again and it flashed in my face. So I'm like, somebody is in the woods. It's not like an animal, because I thought maybe it was an animal or something, but somebody's in the woods. So maybe I'm turning back on around until I finish talking to y'all, and then I'll have, some of my family members come out, be outside waiting on me as I go in, okay? Because I'm not playing that, y'all. That's the one good thing that I'm very grateful for. But anyhow, back to the story. We wanted the ride, but we didn't understand what it cost to get up in that ride. We didn't understand the cost of the upkeep of that Beretta car, okay? That Beretta got us from point A to point B. It had air in it. It had cooling. Like, we went a lot of places. We went down south in it. We went, cross country in that Beretta. We did everything in that Beretta. We skipped in that Beretta. She let me use that Beretta one time to, go and, hang out with my friends, do all kind of stuff. Something I would have never got the opportunity to do, And, now we want to be embarrassed or talk bad about something that we didn't even have to put in the footwork or the leg work to even enjoy. It's a different process. And I'm not saying that that's her bad or anything, but it gave me understanding about the price of something. It gave me the understanding of the cost of something. Okay? All right? I'm just telling y'all. I don't want to get spiritual, but this is just like God. Like, everybody talk about salvation is free. No, it had a price. It's just free to us because it was given to us for free. Jesus paid it. He paid it. Okay? You don't know what it costs. We saw what it cost, but we don't really know because we didn't go through it. And so when you see people who are reluctant to change for the better, who are reluctant to handle growth, to understand and go through the process to grow and become better, you got to let them fall on their face, okay? Because they will crush you. And then not only that, they're gonna start feeling resentment. A lot of these people feel resentment. And that's what I started seeing too. A lot of the people that are around me right now, and I promise y'all I don't get like that. But a lot of these people are resentful. A lot of these people have resentment, and it's wild. When I say it's wild, baby, it's wild. Okay? They are resentful. That's just wild to me. That's just wild to me. Hey, that's just wild to me. Hey. No, that's crazy. Ti is real. Oh, shoot. Big wild out here. Ti at his best. But yeah, y'all. Back to what I was saying. I'm gonna get over here in this corner. Hopefully, I don't get bothered. But I probably am. But at this point in my life, I've learned. I've learned to just depend on God a lot. But anyhow, y'all. Back to what I was saying. Um, yeah, a lot of these people are resentful. They are resentful. They feel like you don't deserve it, even though you put in the work. Okay? I had a relative tell me I didn't deserve to be in the place that I was in, and nobody can have it like easy like I had it. And I'm sitting here like, when have I ever had it easy, y'all? Y'all, I just had my head tied up. Ugh. And it is very, very much uncomfortable, but I gotta have it like this, y'all, because I'm gonna get some rest. I'm gonna go and take a shower and get some rest. But they are very resentful. They will try to, and when people are resentful, a lot of anger and rage, repressed anger will show up. Will show up. And it'll come with backhanded compliments, sometimes with jealousy that will lash out at you and sometimes take you out. Okay? And so this is why I'm saying this, because it started making me think about all the stuff that I've been through, all the attacks, and why I can no longer let these people do this. I can no longer, okay? Because if I took the time out and I worked all these hours and I put in all this work and I grew, because I couldn't, afford to eat, and I drew up a plan to start growing my own food and start doing that. And then all of a sudden you get a lot of people, well, leeches, because that's what they are. People who don't want to put their hand to the plow. People who don't want to bring no assets or bring any contributions to the table other than a empty belly and an open mouth or some wet legs. Like, y'all gotta know. That's why I said I can't help these people, okay? Or a sob story. Because people, like I said, people play on your heartstrings too. People will play. They love to play on your heartstrings. They love that type of stuff. Okay? And so, um, I saw that today. I don't know if it was the tiredness. I don't know if it was my corn rubbing against my finger, my foot, the corn rubbing against my toe or whatever, and it was really agitating me, the back pains. I don't know if it was all of that together. I don't know if it was the lady that was irritating me that was in the cubicle behind me. I don't know, y'all. All I know is it got me to thinking about this topic, And I was like, I'm going to get on here and I'm going to be transparent and I'm going to share this with you guys, okay? And hopefully it helps you guys too, because I know there's a lot of you guys who are very diligent, who are very good helpers, who help the people that are around them, want to see the best. You always want to give good advice. And these people would not listen. They would just try to talk you down, try to burn you out and make you feel worn down while you putting in all the work. Then when something happens that they can't, push on mommy and daddy or something that they can't handle, they're going to run to you and try to dump on you. Okay? Instead of doing the necessary work. And while that might be good, sometimes that's not good most of the times. And you need to make sure. I had to understand this. And I believe deep down in my soul that God is allowing me to see this and to see this firsthand, because when he blesses me, I cannot take them with me. It would be blasphemy if I take these people with me. Okay? Because they haven't been processed. They haven't been, putting in the work. They don't know what it takes, or partially what it takes to endure, to hold on to something. To have something, to hold on to something and keep it. And I'm not even saying big stuff, y'all. I'm talking about the small stuff, because we know it's not what you do with the big stuff that matters. It's what you do with the small things that matter. It's the things that you do with the small things that always matter. Because if you do it on a smaller scale, you're going to do it on a larger scale. How many times that scale is greater? 10, 20 times greater. Sometimes more than that. And so, just remember that, if I'm being diligent right now, me going, this doesn't, come overnight. I had to go through this process of going in and out and doing this and going in and doing all the process. It just doesn't happen. It doesn't. And me building up things, it doesn't happen overnight. It didn't happen overnight. This happened at accumulation of days, months, weeks, and years. Okay? This happened over accumulation of weeks, days, months, and years. Okay? So why would I let that slip away? That could all be gone in a couple of days, especially if you having other people who are, once again, not putting in the work. You're gonna let these people come in and go and not do the work and reap the benefits of not doing the work? You want them to reap the benefits of not doing the work. Reap the benefits of your harvest after you slaved and put in the time, knowing that they were able to do the same thing and they refused to do it. No. Everyone gets a reward according to their works, according to their deeds. Okay? They didn't put in. If y'all know about Smokey Upper Friday, what did he tell that pastor? You didn't put in on this, man. That's what you need to tell these people. And I'm not saying don't help people, none of that. You can help people, you can help them from a distance. But don't for me, for me, I'm saying for me. Y'all can take it for how you want it. For me, I can't have nobody else on the bandwagon. I can't have nobody else on the bandwagon who was not riding with me. I can't. It's no. It's illegal. Can't do it. Can't do it. They didn't pay the toll. They didn't pay the toll. So they can't roll. If you didn't pay the toll, you can't roll. I said if you didn't pay the toll, okay? That's how you gotta be. That's how you gotta be. That's how you gotta be. Otherwise, they will never know the value of doing things. And it's gonna be sad. I know, it's gonna hurt a little bit and people are gonna be mad and say, but it's better to do it now than to find out later and you give out everything and you end up being in the same situation as them, and then they're happy. They go back to the same situation. They're not missing a thing because they didn't have to give up anything. They didn't have to give up a thing, you know. They're not gonna care, and then you did all that hard work to get to a better place, and then you go fall back. No, can't. Okay. So yeah, that's what I wanted to share with you guys. Hopefully something I said or done will help you on this journey. Thank you for tuning in, and stay tuned to Journey to Jerusalem. Thank you guys. Bye.